Cue intro.
The content presented is for entertainment purposes only. Some content may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Like I said, we're going home.
Adam!
All right.
Oh, shit.
Sit on my dog.
Well, they were in the way. So anyways, we're doing this podcast thing.
Hey!
Hey guys, so as you can tell, we're all here today, which means it gets crazy. We also got the doggos.
Whenever I laugh, it's not because of something I did that I think is funny. It's always because of Rianne's laugh.
She has a great laugh, doesn't she?
No, I mean, it's one of those laughs. It's like when she laughs, I can't help but bust out laughing.
Why? Because it sounds so crazy?
No, it's like, it's your laugh, it's your facial expression. Like, no, but...
It's how my four chins come out because I throw my head back.
No.
Because trust me, it's pretty funny.
That's not...
I'm sorry.
Anyways.
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Mom.
What?
Tell your mom we say hi.
Now I'm lost.
No, you're not lost. We're getting ready to start our podcast here, talking about the global birth rate, as it's been on the decline in the United States.
Interesting.
It's fascinating.
It's almost like COVID has something to do with it. Does it or does it not? We don't know. Find out next week on today's episode of...
Talking about your mom in our basement. We're seriously, we got the giggles today. What can I say?
Okay.
None of us have smoked either.
Nope.
None of us have smoked.
Yep.
Have we?
No.
Allegedly.
What the crap? People.
All right. So, no, it's according to this wonderful article that I got for us today.
Someone's mom wrote.
In the basement. We actually do have infertility on the decline. And it's not only happening in the United States, it's also happening across the world.
Ooh.
You know what?
Chicken butt.
So I got a quote for you before we start getting too cray-cray.
Is this a medical journal article?
No.
Did you check the facts? Because I wouldn't necessarily...
They had links to the studies on this website.
Well, did you check this? Well,
Did you...
Anyway.
It's an article. We're just commenting on it.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I got a quote here for you guys. So from this one, according to the United States' most recent census, the U.S. birth rate has declined for 6 straight years and 19% since 2007 in total.
No, wait. Did it say birth rate?
Birth rate has declined for 6 straight years.
So that means
and 19% total since 2007.
So birth rate means they gave birth. So that's the opposite of infertile.
Right. It gets into infertility, but as far as like it's talking about the births in the country as a whole.
Yeah, they've gone down.
Exactly.
Which means infertility has gone up.
No. It's because of the birth rate is down is due to infertility.
That's what I just said.
That's what I just said. What is happening right now? So anyways, okay, so let's start over. According to the United States' most recent census, the U.S. birth rate has declined for 6 straight years and 19% since 2007 in total. Like China, the U.S. birth rate is now well below replacement rate at 1.6. China is now at 1.3, and for a country to naturally replace its population, its birth rate needs to be at least 2.1.
Yep. So that means infertility rates have gone up and birthing rates have gone down. When you were explaining it earlier, you said infertility has gone down. And it's births that have gone down, not infertility.
Well, part of the decline is infertility.
So what's declining? Infertility or birth of babies?
Well, because infertility is related to the birth rate. Because if it's low infertility across the board in the country, there will be a lower birth rate. Does that make sense?
Say that again.
I don't understand why we're confused on this. So due to infertility, birth rate has declined.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, make sense?
Yes.
I don't know why that was in question.
It just sounded like two different things were in decline. But now that you word it that way.
Yeah, they're connected.
Okay, anyway.
Continue.
So what's going to happen to our country if we're unable to replace the people that pass away and come up in the next generation?
In my opinion, I think it'll be a long time before that happens. But I could also go on about what's going to happen to our country in a not regarding infertility. But
I think billionaires will make less money because they don't have as many burger flippers at their McDonald's.
No, well, I mean, I think it's the lack of frontline staff, but that's
yeah.
Here's the thing. The people in control already have the majority of the wealth. They don't care about making more because they basically run the freaking planet.
Mm-hmm.
Their concern is not money. Their concern is people being alive to... I don't know. I don't know.
I'm just curious what the long-term effects will occur, and how that would relate into businesses and stuff like that. If we start running out of people to hire, how are we going to keep businesses alive?
Well, if you're running out of people to hire, you're also running out of customers.
That too.
So there's not going to be the same amount of demand.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be, honestly, it just kind of sounds like it'll stay steady, but there's the real decline is just going to be the decline in population. So
Mm-hmm.
like Rianne's saying, if there's a decline in workforce employees, there is then going to be a decline in consumers.
Right.
So if anything, I think businesses will probably stay steady, population will just decline. So.
Well, then there's, especially since we have such a huge portion of our business in the consumer-based economy, we're going to run into the issues. If we have less people, there's going to be less people consuming.
That's what he just said.
Really? Did I just sum it up and it was just and this is my counterpoint?
You just said the exact same thing, but with different words.
Anyways. Yes.
So I'm affirming what you said and I agree.
Perfect. Glad we're on the same page here.
Glad I smoothed that out.
Well,
so with that, I think businesses, with the decline of population, I think we'll also it's very possible that there will be a decline in prices. Nice. Nice.
Kind of glad we didn't have cameras there.
Don't say that.
Jacob.
Anyways.
Rand's making faces.
Kate, this is a different This is a different conversation of infertility than I thought we were gonna have.
Well, okay, so
it's focused on the birth decline, but infertility is part of it.
Okay.
It's all interconnected. If you're not infertile, you're not increasing the birth rate. Continue.
No, that's all.
What is going on right now?
Jacob, if you're not infertile, you're not contributing to the birth rate. That's impossible. If you are infertile, you are not contributing.
That's what I just said.
No, You said if you're not
Oh my
infertile.
goodness.
No, I said if you're not fertile,
Oh,
then you're not contributing to the birth rate. That isn't that what I just said, or did I say infertile?
I heard not infertile. We'll have to go back to the podcast and watch it after. But anyways,
All right. Well,
continue.
I misspoke. I meant that if you are infertile, then you're not contributing to the birth rate. Like those things correlate.
You mean if you're not fertile?
That's
Woo! Okay, yeah, you said
if you're not fertile.
There we go. Perfect. Let's stay with that.
I'm messing up my words again.
Yes, yeah, you are.
Okay.
Anyways, continue.
Okay. All right.
oh my gosh.
Well, that would be a concern for me, especially from an economic standpoint, is that if we have less people, there's less people to hire, but there's also less people consuming. And since we have a consumer-based economy, what's going to happen to the economics of everything if we don't have people doing what they're supposed to be doing in order for business to continue?
A decline in business, but also, like, to be fair, there are lots and lots and lots of college students that are going into business.
Mm-hmm.
The business program at SU is huge. As far as like administration goes, advertisement, marketing, communications, even.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of people are like getting education in that sense. As far as the amount of people that will be going into it, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say for certain because I know there's also plenty of other people that are going into other career paths and other positions that they want to study.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't tell you.
Well, I'm sure Rianne can chime in more on this. I think she's more informed than I am, but there's been a lot of factors contributing to infertility.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like what? Educate us, Rianne.
Well, pollution.
Okay.
Air pollution has been directly tied to causing infertility.
Is that carbon dioxide specifically, or is it other byproducts
it's
from
other stuff that's in the air that's causing that? Preservatives in food have been known to create birthing abnormalities and certain medications like Accutane.
Really?
Side effect.
Accutane?
Uh-huh.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's that? What's Accutane used for?
Acne.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But
I used to take Accutane too, so that's kind of nerve-wracking.
I don't know if it affects men the same way it does women.
Right, but still, hearing that, like, either way.
But the other thing that we watched that Joe Rogan podcast where the doctor was talking about how plastics in that we consume affect or cause infertility.
So petroleum byproducts called phthalates. They're inside like plastics.
Well,
Gotcha.
yeah, and then our diet, right? Like,
Yep.
diet is so bad.
Processed food.
So, and like the leading cause for women to be infertile is polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a variation of it's a hormonal
Imbalance
that involves blood sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So usually the treatment for PCOS is to start someone on metformin or some type of sugar insulin regulatory med. And that's
so you're good at your words too.
Shush. So, how do I know this? Because we've experienced it, and it sucks.
Yep.
It sucks a bunch.
I
I was gonna say something else.
Pesticides. Like I was exposed to pesticides for almost 3 years of my life, being an applicator. So who knows?
GMO has been
Genetically modified
organism is like, but because it's modifying genes and stuff, It messes with hormones that they feed our meat, or that they inject in like the meat supply, like cows and pigs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That has side effects.
Well, antibiotics too. I know they keep out like salt licks and stuff like that for them to. It's basically like a antibiotic, like cube, and they like lick on it to get their antibiotics.
Gotcha.
Keep them from getting sick from being in enclosed spaces and stuff. I can't talk today. That's okay. I wonder if other things like other additives, like for taste, like I haven't done a lot of research on monosodium glutamates, but I wonder if that might be a contribution.
Don't even know what that is, so I don't speak the language.
So MSG, it's an additive that's put in a lot of food to make it taste better.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
They do a lot in, I believe, in Asia.
Okay. Cool.
Indonesia and stuff.
I guess not cool, but
I mean, I don't know.
In this sense,
I don't know if it is, but I mean, we've been taught by science that it's bad for you. So it's like I'm really curious if that's a contributor or not. Moving right along. There's still big countries with high birth rates, such as Pakistan, 3.4, Nigeria, 5.1. But even these numbers are lower than they were in the 1960s, when Pakistan was at 6.6, Nigeria was at 6.4, and declining every year. So they're even seeing this in countries that have very high, very fertile, high birth rates, have good fertility.
Huh. So I wonder if COVID and or the COVID vaccine have had anything to do with this in the last year. If that's had any impact. What do you guys think?
So, just based off of the VAERS website, there have been miscarriages associated with the vaccine, which is extremely high.
Yeah, Joe Rogan just had a person on his podcast just recently who had direct effects of the vaccine and their pregnancy, and they've also said that it messes up the menstrual cycles. So you don't have a period for a longer period of time, like up to months.
And okay, this is what's really weird is in the study, they when they first started, women were asked if they were pregnant or if they had any family members that were pregnant because they were worried about the person who got vaccinated, even if they weren't pregnant, could potentially affect the other pregnant people for some odd reason.
Interesting.
Like my mom sent that to me. She's like, if you're not vaccinated and people around you are, you need to be careful and blah, blah, blah. But I've noticed that.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it was weird. But I saw an article somewhere, and I know it probably sounds like the biggest conspiracy theory, but just the amount of miscarriages and people that are having issues with their menstrual cycles and stuff after getting it, I know people personally who have, and I don't want to mess with that.
Yeah, from what I understand, they're starting to do studies that focuses specifically on women, which is strange that they hadn't done that already. Again, this is my whole thing with it coming out so quickly and not being tested on human beings and not looking for adverse reactions. Even however small, they're really concerning.
Well, they're saying for women, it's causing irregularities with their hormones and their cycles and stuff. And for men, young men, from 25 to 12 or whatever, they were pushing it. They're suffering heart problems.
Yeah.
From it. Which is crazy. Myocarditis or whatever.
Myocarditis?
No, that's not it either.
Is it myocarditis?
No, myocarditis.
We need somebody to Google. Who's got Google handy?
I mean, I don't know that I can necessarily spell that.
But anyway, yes, there has been, they've noticed a decline and people having babies. Like you would think that everybody would be home, you know, getting drunk and making babies, you know, while they were they were stuck at home. But although people did drink more during the shutdowns, but actually people were having less babies during 2020, which is really interesting. According to this article, anyway.
I didn't even know that. That is interesting.
In fact, people were estimated impacts were the very like young, so like in their, you know, like teens, like 18, 19. And 40 to 44, like people were having less babies. But it's really interesting about this article is it didn't really talk a lot about other contributing factors. It was mostly just focused on the pandemic, of course, because that's the hot topic right now. That's the new that's the buzzword for the last 2 years almost.
But it's changed the entire globe.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has. It's politicized and divided and created social movements and
this whole thing never should have been as political as it is now, and it's caused. You're right, Rianne. I think it's caused more division in our country than ever. Like,
yeah,
Abraham Lincoln would see this shit and be so livid.
Well, what's really interesting as because we're a little bit older, we kind of got to see like America really coming together and like being like as a one unit, like back in, when 9/11 happened and everybody got on board, like we're going to war.
It's like we're Americans.
We're America.
We don't have race, like nothing really divided us. We united as a nation. Yep. And the world like united with us as a nation. And all this freaking pandemic has done is created so much.
Well, it's not necessarily just the pandemic. I mean, we've become more divisive just because, well, in my opinion, I believe we've become more divisive due to social media. Like, it's so easy for not only misinformation, but people attacking each other to go like live and the fastest it's ever have been. It's not like you don't have to like wait to go to school to tell Jimmy, off because he was mad at you the other day. Like now you can just go, on Twitter or TikTok or Facebook or YouTube, and you can put something up and be like, "If you, dude,"
Well,
facts.
The thing is there's also a barrier, so the filters aren't there, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're less likely to go up and say something extremely harsh to somebody despite how you may feel, because you'd have to deal with their reaction either physically, emotionally, whatever. You'd have to deal with it right then and there, face to face. But when it's on a screen, you can say whatever you want, feel totally justified because you don't see the effects of it or whatever.
And you have a certain sense of anonymity. Anonymity.
Yes, there are two.
Yeah, I did it. There's a certain sense of that because you don't even have to put like your real name on a lot of stuff. You can just put Johnny hates Timmy 9000.
Or that's what she said, 2005.
Or 69.
Okay, now
anyway.
It's crazy. Okay.
Anyway. Yeah, it's been very interesting. And I think a lot of it has to do with, identity politics has been around forever, but it's just been amplified now that we have not only, a telephone to tell somebody, but now we have a megaphone where the whole world can hear it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. The spread of information is so much faster than it was back in the day.
I can't see the time when I have my thing open. Thank you.
It's 8:26.
Well, I can't see it because I have my OneDrive open. So I have all my quotes. I have all my thoughts. Like it's already like here. And so I can like reference to it and stuff.
Okay, so how did we go from infertility to trolling online?
Because we got onto COVID and we kind of deviated that way and how our devices we are as a country and so on and so forth. So remember all the jokes about people being stuck at home leading to a baby boom? As the data rolls in, it's clear that in many countries, the opposite has occurred. Most children these days are wanted or planned children, especially in the developed world. Deciding to have a baby is contingent on being optimistic about the future, and optimism is difficult to muster during a global pandemic. In fact, the Brookings Institute estimates that 300,000 babies were not born in the U.S. as a result of economic insecurity related to the pandemic. Of course, I think that's a drop in the bucket compared to abortions, which are in the millions. That's another... I don't know if they count that as birth rate or not, but probably not.
Yeah, no. They can't count them because...
they're not technically born.
Well, anyway. That's another podcast. Now I lost my train of thought. Dang it, Jacob.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to... I didn't mean to do that. Not on purpose anyways. So then while you guys are kind of coming up with some other stuff, I have another quote here. A decline in fertility is just one way the pandemic is suppressing population growth in many developed nations. The other, closed borders, for instance. In 2020, Australia recorded its first population decline since World War I due to stricter COVID-related border controls. Canada granted permanent resident status to 180,000 applicants in 2020, far short from the target of 381,000, and most of the new permanent residents were already in the country on student or work visas. A third grim factor is also at work. The death toll of the disease itself. Researchers predict that life expectancy in the United States has declined by a full year as a result of COVID deaths. And it goes on about racial minorities, of course, because, it's a hot topic. Racial minorities were particularly hit hard, with African American life expectancy suppressed by 2 years and Latino life expectancy by 3 years. Officially, the pandemic is responsible for more than 3 million deaths, but that figure could be far higher. Since some countries may be underreporting deaths, doubtful. This is probable, for example, in India, where the pandemic is claiming 4,000 lives a day. Many authorities believe the real count is far higher. According to this article.
Where's the article from?
Webforum.org.
But who wrote it?
I'd have to open it up. It's the World Economic Forum. Daryl Bricker, I think. No?
Okay.
I mean, I'm just finding articles that look interesting. If they have interesting things we can talk about, I talk about them. I'm not really worried about left or right. I think it's more of a commentary thing.
I agree.
That's good.
Like I've said before, I can't really choose left or right. So.
Well, I mean, there's some things on either side that look and seem reasonable.
So it's just
Depends on the issue.
the World
For me,
Economic
anyway.
Forum is a fairly reputable journal or information source.
Mm-hmm.
So, but-
Well, if you guys haven't already, we'd love to know your thoughts about the birth decline and infertility. If you leave a comment below, we'd love to start a conversation with you.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet, but
Well, I was just talking about just comment on the video or whatever.
well, yeah, either way.
But yeah, they can do it live too. I'd love to have more people talk live. That'd be pretty cool.
Could actually have a conversation, which would be nice.
I know. Then we could take people's like questions and stuff. That's gonna be kind of cool.
Should we talk? No, I don't know. We could talk about what it's like to experience infertility.
I mean, it's up to you if you want to get that deep.
I don't know. Probably not.
Probably not.
I probably don't want to cry on the podcast because that's an
I cried on the last one. I did.
You did?
I did.
Oh my goshness.
I did. I got very emotional. How dare you?
How very therapeutic in a way, though.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, for sure. So, okay. So then we kind of talked a little bit about, all the effects and stuff like plastics and pollution and, phthalates and pesticides. And,
Okay, I do have to say this. As a woman who's experienced infertility, to hear stuff like that there's a lot of external factors that contribute to infertility, it's kind of comforting in a way. It's sad and scary, but it's kind of comforting because then it kind of eases that voice in my mind that's like, oh, it's your fault that you're, what's wrong with you? You're
you're not doing your
broken.
job as a as a producer of people.
Right, that's the one thing women are designed to do is give birth,
Right.
and to not have that. So knowing that it's not just me, it's just the environment that I grew up in that could have contributed to all of this.
It's possible. It could also be stress. Stress is a big factor. Just talking about one of these quotes. A lot of people didn't have babies during the pandemic because they were stressed out about their livelihoods, their futures. I'm sure a lot of people had their careers put on hold because of it.
Yeah.
Everything was put on hold because of it.
Yeah.
Stress was a factor, sure. But we were struggling with that before the pandemic. But I would say stress definitely is a contributor. Because cortisol is a hormone, and cortisol is the stress hormone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're in a constant state with cortisol, it affects the body.
Your body's going to be like, this is not a great time to have a baby. And it'll say, no, to the little swimmers. They'll say, no. Or sometimes, do fertilize and then they decide, nope, no, it's not the time.
Or maybe the swimmers are like, yeah, I don't feel like swimming.
It's possible.
It's not always the woman's fault.
No, it's not. And I think it's pretty sad that societally, in the history of society, that it was always the woman's fault.
Well, yeah, because
she's not fertile. It's the woman's fault. She didn't bear me a son. It was the woman's fault.
Well, yeah, because that's how you keep people in line. You demoralize them.
Well, women were basically in servitude for a long time. Isn't it nice that you live in such a great generation where you don't have to live in servitude?
Well, I live in servitude. Just not to you.
Oh, you talking about servitude of your job?
Yeah.
We're in servitude of the man.
Servitude,
And a little bit that's technically
you're
true.
in servitude to money, so you can actually
Oh.
survive.
Yeah, and there's actually an argument about how our system is set up that it feels like you're in constant financial servitude. Because it seems like every time you go into debt because you need to buy and need something, that food goes up and gas goes up and goods go up and shipping costs goes up. Then all of a sudden you can't pay that back because the money that you thought you would have because you were going to save now has to go
no longer there.
Exactly. It kind of, I mean, this is my tinfoil hat, of course. And feeling that that's kind of a conspiracy theory that the system is designed to keep us.
It's not a conspiracy theory. It's very much set up like that.
That's
That is the entire, like, the lower class is essentially the slaves to the ruling class.
I don't know what it is. I can barely hear you.
I can hear me just fine. I don't know. Can you hear me, Alakai?
I can hear you. I think
can
Jacob's,
hear her,
I think
but-
Jacob's just louder than either of us.
Really?
Yeah.
He likes the sound of his own voice.
I don't know about that, but
Like, I don't know. I think Jacob's volume is a little higher than
Really?
yours or mine, Rion. Yeah, I think yours is. Yeah.
huh.
Um.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
Should I go
we
check? Should I go check the sound real quick?
We can check
or-
it after the podcast. So we
No,
can do it
it's
for the second
okay.
one.
I mean, I can set the microphone back.
I have a tendency to be loud
How's
anyway.
this? Is this
No, I think that's fine.
That's better.
is that good?
Yeah, I think so.
They just like I
Um,
really want to get all up in that microphone.
Okay, whoa.
Whoa.
Just kidding.
Anyways, my conspiracy, and I've talked about this with my lady, is like, I've talked about this with one of my best friends and with my woman. We've talked about like
You're
how
whamming.
my woman,
Woman, not woman.
sorry, came out wrong.
We don't
Woman.
want people thinking that you're going the plural way.
Leave me alone. That's no.
Leave me alone.
I got one and only. So anyways, we've talked about how like the whole COVID vaccine is just like a way for the government to essentially like like crowd control,
Yes.
essentially.
Yes.
Population control.
Yeah, population and crowd control.
That is
Look
a
up-
popular one
Because
right now.
of there are a lot of places now that are getting overpopulated,
Okay.
and
Look up Bill Gates vaccine on what freaking talk show was it? Oh, maybe it was Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon. But there's one. He's like, he like totally supports birth control, and especially in like third world countries and everything, vaccines, all that sort of stuff. He's all for population control. And if you talk to Elon Musk has said, we actually have the exact opposite problem. Because we're seeing a decline in birth rate and everything on a continuous basis.
Mhm.
We're not struggling to we're struggling for depopulation.
Mm.
It's really weird.
We're struggling
That didn't come out right.
because
We're struggling because of the depopulation, not because of overpopulation.
well, and what do you mean by depopulation? Do you mean that like
The birth rate is continuing to go down, so that we are no longer going to populate our habitat. Like, our population's going to die off.
And you think that's happening because of our government or because of lawmakers or do you think it's a combination of everything?
Okay, I'm going to put the tinfoil hat on.
Yeah, let's hear your
It's
tinfoil hat. That's what's
because-
interesting right now.
It's because people are going to freaking accuse me of being stupid QAnon. I don't even care. I'm not a QAnon person. But
they found out who Q was, so I don't understand.
I don't. And
You don't remember the documentary? They found out who Q
Jacob,
was.
We're not talking about Q. I'm just saying.
So there's not really
So,
QAnon anymore.
but there is there are conspiracies that the ruling population is systematically planning our depopulation
Mm-hmm.
through various means, medication, toxins.
Do you think that's why birth control actually came around? Because
Yeah.
the government was like, how can we stop these horny humans from procreating?
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
But condoms been around since what, 1800s?
Well, and don't get me
there's
wrong.
there's a lot of
Wrong.
condom commercials and a lot of birth control
Prophylactic.
commercials that come up now.
Yeah.
Come to think of it.
No, but this is
Come to think of it.
no. It's
And
been
now
around.
now they're spouting planned parenting, or family planning.
Okay, now we're going down a slippery slope.
What's the slippery slope? I don't understand.
Well, did you know that Planned Parenthood was actually established by the wife of a Ku Klux Klan member to be put into the
I know that.
into the Harlems and the colored areas?
And also, like over 60% of the placement of these Planned Parenthood facilities are in mostly high density of Black American.
That's what I just said. Yes. And that was for a very specific reason.
I'm surprised that Black Lives Matter is not talking about that. But anyways, that's what's interesting, because it's like there's plenty of ways to not get pregnant. There's many ways to have fun without having intercourse. So it's like,
It's
Huh.
like what?
interesting. So I'm just curious, like with the whole like sex education done by school, if that was, I mean, obviously this is our tinfoil hats talking right now, is if they were started because the government's like, hey, we need to stop these people from making more babies, so let's get disposable condoms up and running so we can teach kids how to use them.
Oh.
We're going down the rabbit hole, aren't we?
Yeah.
A little bit.
We need to.
Okay, so then since, part of the theme, overarching theme of this podcast is how we can be better humans today than we were yesterday, how can we fix some of these things? I don't know where my phone went. Oh, I found it.
I think first of all, something really important is not everybody should be a parent. I think that's one thing.
I think we can all agree that there are some people out there you're like, you should not be having kids.
I think after working in the field that I currently work in, love the kids that I work with, but I look at some parents and I'm kind of like, who's at fault here? Like,
Well, look at the foster care system, which is a broken system at this point in time.
right, but also to be fair, I don't think that a lot of generations are changing constantly. Therefore, like, not every parent is like given the tools that they need in order to be a good parent.
This is true.
And not every kid is given the tools they need to grow up in a society where they can learn the skills necessary to survive and like socially, physically,
Mentally,
that-
financially.
That being said, I think a lot of it just has to start, like, it needs to start in families.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. Having a good education as a parent and how to do your job as a parent. I think that's where it starts. And obviously, if you're someone that can't really take care of a kid or have the capacity to raise a child properly, again, I'm not a father. I've never been a father, so I don't know what it takes. I don't know what it's like. This is just from like experience in the work field, working with kids. But like, if you're not someone that can raise a kid or have the capacity to teach them the things that they need to survive, then obviously don't be having kids. And if you have the ability to raise a good kid, then do the best that you can with the tools you got.
Yeah.
So.
I like that. Sweetie?
I've had thoughts.
We'd love to hear them.
It's hard to say that because that's a very, by default, that provides for only the elite to have children and the joy of children, because it's their, like, people born into poverty, that's a hard thing. Like, if you can't support your children or you can't support,
That can be traumatic,
right? Like, that's trauma, that's child abuse, neglect, blah blah blah. But that sucks because I don't know, it's hard.
I kind of feel like this whole thing is a double-edged sword either way.
Yeah.
Like, that's where, like, trying to tread lightly in my words earlier, but
It's true. I mean, but that's hard because it's like, well, who are we to deny anybody the joy of having a child? But if a person doesn't really want to have the child and is going to end up,
or what happens when they have the means, they have the capacity, like they have the tools and they have a kid, and they decide that, oh wow, this is a lot different than I thought it was going to be. Then they struggle with the capacity to continue that going because
well, I mean, wealthy people aren't necessarily good parents either.
Yeah, not all wealthy people are happy people.
Time is 8:48.
He was letting me know that we're about 45 minutes in. You're so cute. He's like trying to hide behind his microphone.
Just like making a little noise to like let you know, hey, just heads up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think bottom line is we just need to figure stuff out. And if this is, if infertility is something that's going to continue to decline and people are unable to have kids when we need, like, that's the thing, is that it's not going to probably affect us right now. It might not affect us in the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. But if this continues, then we might get to the point where we're just like, oh, wow, we actually need to start making more babies.
Yeah, you never know.
But, either way, we're here to learn. We're here to grow. We're here to try to, not only figure ourselves out, but, figure out the world and what's going on in it. And that's
craziness. That's what's going on.
The world is crazy. The world is a little crazy.
Freaking crazy right now.
But I know we can get out of it. I know we can, the pendulum is definitely swung way far off into the wrong direction, in my opinion, in a lot of ways and a lot of things. But I think eventually that will swing back the other way, and hopefully we'll end up somewhere in the middle. And we can come together right now over me. I love the Beatles. And on that note, thank you all for watching. If we haven't, earned your subscription, hopefully we did today, and maybe we'll get you on the next one. But if you really did enjoy this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and hit that stupid bell that apparently you need to have several steps in order to be awarded a knowing of what's going on. Anyways, I digress. Definitely hit that follow and like this video and share it if you wouldn't mind. That's the best way to get the word out. And from our family to yours, good night.